Hello fellow creature, welcome back to Rooftop Talks. One of the crucial lies an addict tells himself is, I'm only harming myself. It's the fundamental lie of the addict. And this one lie is very crucial to allow good people to engage in destructive behavior. And of course, it is a lie. An addict is not only harming themselves. The most fundamental way that an addict's activity harms others is by financially perpetuating an industry that will go on to ruin other lives. The addict doesn't want to think about that bigger picture and the lives their habit is ruining. So they don't. They don't think about those lives. They impose a short-sightedness on themselves, only allowing themselves to see the consequences it has on themselves and not on others. And meanwhile, their mind will be employing these defense mechanisms to justify and defend the continuation of their destructive habit. For example, attacking critics as being morally condescending. What gave you the authority to look into my life and give me advice? They'll say things like that. They'll go on the attack. They'll attack anyone who has something to say about it. They might try bargaining to try and reduce their consumption, but never to quit. They'll never say, all right, I'll quit. They'll say, okay, yeah, you're right. I'm doing it too much. I'll reduce. They might invoke personal freedom. It's my choice, they might say. It's my personal choice. I should have the freedom to do this if I want to. We have been talking about this on the level of the individual, of course. And no doubt ideas have come to your mind about which substance I may be referring to. Is it crack? Is it crystal meth? Is it fentanyl? Or maybe it's one that's legal, like alcohol, tobacco. Or maybe it's an activity, like gambling, or even perhaps a more recent one that's come to people's attention, social media addiction, right? But what good would this video do if I was just making you aware of an addiction that you're already aware of? That already has your caution, that's already on your radar. No, I'm thinking of an addiction that you're not even aware of, that is so interwoven into the fabric of our society, you're not even aware of it. Right there in front of you in plain sight, every day, without being aware that it's an addiction. And I'm not saying this is the worst addiction for public health, but I am saying that it's an addiction. And the people who are addicted to this are going to be using the same playbook of the addict. They're going to be using the same excuses every time. What happens when a society is engaged in a destructive, addictive behavior? When it's so interwoven into our culture and our traditions and phony science and the childhood indoctrination, children are raised to have this habit. It's an entire philosophy that is propping up this addiction. What is it that I could be talking about here? I am talking about our addiction to the exploitation and enslavement of animals. For food, for entertainment, for clothing, for scientific experimentation, recreation. Animals, despite being fully autonomous, sensitive individuals, are confined and enslaved for the benefit of one outrageously greedy species. Even at this point in history, where we cannot possibly explain this as a point of necessity, we are far more advanced than that. The human race stubbornly keeps the locks on those cages that hold the innocent against their will, out of no other reason than out of habit, out of addiction. An addiction to the perceived luxuries and comforts that come from the exploitation of slaves, non-human slaves. Animals are abused for our treats, to treat ourselves. It shows how low our society is when people so adamantly defend their treats, their comforts. How low have we sunk? These animals who are similar in personality to your beloved dogs and cats. Animals who are innocent of all crimes and yet are stripped of their innate rights, are treated worse than war criminals, despite having done nothing wrong except be born into the wrong skin, be born into the wrong species. That is the only crime these creatures have committed, and yet they are treated with less regard than war criminals. But I'm here to tell you the good news. The good news is that you can just quit. You can quit whenever you want. You can quit today from this addiction. Society is addicted to exploiting animals, and you're a member of society, and unless you're vegan, you're addicted too, I'm afraid. It's actually really easy to quit this addiction. You just go vegan. I've gone vegan, and I can tell you that it wasn't hard, and it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. It's easy to let go of this stuff. All you have to do is just make the decision. Just make the decision. Veganism, if you don't know, is the ethical stance against the exploitation of animals. It seeks to eliminate all use of animals. That's all it is. From there, you can figure out the rest. But that is the definition of true veganism. It isn't an aesthetic choice. It isn't some kind of challenge that you only engage in during January. It isn't for your health, it's for the animals. It's a consideration for the animals. The implications of this ethical stance are that we do not fund industries that exploit animals. We do not pay for others to do that exploitation, enslavement, and killing and harming on our behalf. We don't pay others to abuse animals on our behalf. As a vegan, when I buy toothpaste, for example, I buy vegan toothpaste. It's toothpaste that hasn't been experimented on bunny rabbits. There was no bunny rabbits involved in my toothpaste. When I buy food, I buy plant-based ingredients for my food. It's high in protein, fiber, carbohydrates, vitamins. It's tasty and it's healthy, and I feel great in my body and in my soul, knowing that my body is not a graveyard for animals that were never given a name. They were just given an ear tag that's punched through their ear. Need I remind any addict out there who claims to need the products of an animal that it is scientifically proven beyond any shadow of a doubt that veganism is healthy for all walks of life. Out of the top 10 dietetic associations in the world, all 10 of them endorse a vegan diet. So if you make the unqualified claim that veganism isn't healthy, just know that you're doing so against the consensus of the dietetic associations of the world. Get with the times. We do not need animal products to live happy, healthy, long lives. We do not need bacon. We do not need dairy. Don't kid yourself. You like cheese. You don't need cheese. You like cheese. You're addicted to cheese. You do not need the fatty fluid that comes from a cow's udder that is meant for raising their calf. And instead of going to that calf, that bobby calf is taken away and sent to slaughterhouse so that you, an adult male who was weaned as a child, can drink the fluid of that mother. It was not meant for you. It has been stolen for you from a greedy industry. We do not need these products. We simply grew accustomed over time to them always being there, just within our reach to exploit. And in our greed, we did not want to question whether it was right. We only questioned whether we can. I invite you to break free from this addiction. The first step to breaking an addiction is to realize that you are addicted. You're addicted to the comforts. You're addicted to the nostalgia. You're addicted to the taste. It would be really strong of you to first recognize that you are in fact addicted, and then to change your behavior to match your beliefs. I don't think you identify as being an animal abuser, but animal abusing is what you are engaged in because it's normalized. If you need more information or encouragement, I have created a lecture that introduces the concept of veganism. If you're an open-minded person, I think you could watch that video and learn something from it. Even if you're not yet on board, I understand this is a very short video. You can watch my presentation on veganism. It might answer a lot of your questions. I would greatly appreciate you watching that lecture. Thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate your time. And I appreciate any consideration you give to the animals. I would really appreciate it if you acted on this and went vegan. Goodbye.
I had really thought that I was incapable of this kind of behavior. I was surprised, no, I was dismayed to find out that I could really be that I could act in a manner so absolutely unaccustomed to anything I would even really dream of doing. And while I was doing it, I didn't feel any regret. I didn't feel any guilt. It was only afterwards, when I began to reflect on what I had done, that this behavior began to dawn on me, and I realized that this was a part of me I hadn't really noticed before.